Yeah, this video tutorial looks at the mathematical strand of measurement and more specifically looks at arc length and sector area.
So what is an arc length? Well, essentially an arc length is the length of a curved part of a wedge. So if you look at our example here, you can see that the arc length is actually this length here, which is the curved part of our wedge, of our circle. Alright, so we're essentially just looking at this part here. And it's calculated using a formula of our angle, theta, over 360 multiplied by the formula of our circumference. So remember that 2 pi r is actually the formula for a circumference. And on our diagram, our radius is actually the straight parts of our wedge. Now a sector, and I'll put in brackets area, is actually the area of our wedge. So remember the arc length, we were looking at the length of the curved part. The sector is actually the area all inside. Alright, so it's the whole thing. So we're actually looking at the whole area in here. And this is given, or the formula is given as theta, which is our angle. Okay, so our angle here, which is theta, over 360 multiplied by pi r squared. Now remember that the formula for a circle, or the area of a circle, is pi r squared. So let's have a look at some example questions. So in our first question it says, what is the arc length of a section of a circle with a radius of 5 centimeters and an angle of 45 degrees? Well, remember that our arc length, so L for arc length, is given by theta over 360 multiplied by 2 pi r, which is obviously the formula for the circumference of a circle. In this particular case, our theta is 45 degrees, so 45 over 360 multiplied by 2 pi, and our radius is 5. Let's put that into our calculator. And that would give us an arc length of 3.92 centimeters. In our second question, it says a circle has a radius of 8 meters. What is the area of a sector? So whoops, I need to rewrite this. Apologies for the typo. The area of a sector which has an angle of 25 degrees. So remember that the area is our theta over 360 multiplied by pi r squared. In this particular case, our theta is 25 over 360 multiplied by pi 8 squared. And we can simply just put that into our calculator. And that'll give us 13.96 meters squared. The last question says, what is the perimeter of a sector that has a side length of 3 meters and an angle of 85 degrees? So the sector would look like this, 3 meters and an angle of 85 degrees. Now remember the perimeter is the length all the way around. So we simply need to find our arc length and add it to our both radiuses. So the perimeter is going to equal 3 plus 3 plus the length of our arc, which is theta over 360 times 2 pi r. And in this particular case, 3 plus 3 is 6. I'll just add that together for now. This becomes 85 over 360 multiplied by 2 pi 3. I'm going to work out what that is in the calculator and just add 6 to it at the end. So 85 divided by 360 times 2 times pi times 3 plus 6, and that's going to give me a total of 10.45 meters. Okay, so you're now going to come across some practice questions. Please feel free to pause the video, have a go at the questions. When you think you've got them correct, continue the video, and we'll see how you went. Okay, so here are some practice questions. Like I said, please feel free to pause the video, have a go at them. When you think you've got them correct, continue the video, and we'll check your answers. First question says, what is the arc length of a section of circle with a radius of 1.5 centimeters and an angle of 30 degrees? Now remember, the arc length is actually theta over 360 multiplied by 2 pi r. If we put this all into our calculator, where our theta is 30 over 360 and our radius is 1.5, put that into our calculator, you should get 30 divided by 360 equals times 2 times pi times 1.5. You would have had a 0.785 centimeters. The second question says a circle has a radius of 10 centimeters. What is the area of the sector which has an angle of 120 degrees? So remember, area is equal to theta divided by 360 multiplied by pi r squared. That's going to be 120 over 360 multiplied by pi 10 squared. Area is therefore, put that all into our calculator, 120 divided by 360 times pi times 10 squared. That's going to give us an area of 104.72 centimeters squared. And the last question says, what is the perimeter of a sector that has a side length of 4.5 and an angle of 53? So again, it's going to look like this: 4.5, 4.5, angle of 53 degrees. Our perimeter is going to be 4.5 plus 4.5 plus the arc length. Alright, and the arc length is theta over 360 multiplied by 2 pi r. So this is going to be 9 plus 53 over 360 times 2 times pi times 4.5. Put that all into our calculator. 53 divided by 360 times 2 times pi times 4.5, and I'm going to add my 9 for the radius. That'll give me 13.16 centimeters.